and welcome to another Coffee with Kilroy. Today, I'm back to my beverage in a book with my beverage, coffee. And the book, well, this is an interesting one. I just picked this up. I saw it out there and thought, well, let me take a risk, take a runner, take a flyer on this one. No pun intended for the B-29. But this is by Noah Patterson. I've got a few of her games in that there was the Roll for Omaha, which I just covered last week, or talked a little bit about last week. I've actually covered it before then, but I did some additional coverage in connection with D-Day week a few weeks ago, or actually it was last week. I've lost all track of time. That was quite an endeavor doing D-Day week. But did Roll for Omaha, did a tank game, I think it was like maybe one-page tank or something like that. But generally, Patterson gets into the RPG realm and has like a micro RPG series of books and materials for role-playing, but has done a few war game books but are mostly of the roll and write type genre. And this is a roll and write World War II war game. B-29 Bombs Over Japan. And so me with my war game books, I've can't get enough and always looking out for something new. And so when I saw this out there, I thought I'd take a look at it. It's so new that I tried to look it up on Board Game Geek and did not even see it on there. So this is, again, Micro RPG is an autistic and transgender-owned indie game publisher focused on publishing fun, inclusive solo game books in many genres. Our motto is game with pride. Now, the solo games, they are more focused on solo games. Even the Micro RPG, I think, is focused on solo games. B-29 Bombs Over Japan is an easy-to-learn and simple-to-play solitaire gaming experience set during World War II. You play as a B-29 bomber heading out on bombing raids in Japan. All you need to play this war book are 2 6-sided dice, a 20-sided dice, a copy of a main game sheet from this book, and a pen or pencil. If this is your first ever war game, don't worry. Simply read the rules and start playing without trying to memorize everything. Now, on this, it has multiple sheets in here to play on. I mean, you know me, I don't mark on anything. I don't deface anything. So I can't really play legacy games because of that. That's me. That's a hang up I have. But there's multiple sheets in here, and one of I think his first game, which was a tank game, a roll and write kind of tank game. The whole book was just multiple sheets. They didn't do that as much here. A lot of this is the actual game itself, and then there are a few sheets in here. So you're gonna want to make a copy of these sheets, or make a copy and laminate, and then mark on it with the dry erase. There are several, and it's in color as well. So that's another thing. The earlier book with the tank was mainly black and white, which made it easy to copy. But this is in color, so it lends itself more to maybe making a copy, laminating it, and then you can play with it that way. But anyway, that kind of defeats the whole purpose of having it in a self-contained book, right? Well, let me get a drink. Let's see what this has in store. Now, I just got it. I've done just a really quick, just looked through the pages just to get a feel for it. But you're kind of seeing this along with me for the first time, or I'm seeing this along with you for the first time. How about that? But there are a lot of rules in this one compared to some of the other ones, or at least my memory of the other ones. So here's the full first page, and it is full color. That is an interesting thing here. It is all full color. And this is copyright 2023, Bombs Over Japan. Get a little bio on the designer there. And then B-29 Bombs Over Japan. Here's your table of contents. game overview, game sheet, getting started, sequence of play, movement step, fuel check. I mean, you can see there's quite a, I mean, for a war game book or a self-contained book, game in a book, there's quite a few rules in here, but it is a roll and write. So it's a lot of just procedural rolling and then checking this, rolling and checking that. And then it's got combat sheets down here at the back of the book. So here's your game overview. And this is basically your bombing run. You're going to be going across this page and bombing aspects of this part of Japan. Here's where you keep track of your plane, and then you've got your crew. I mean, this is a typical, harkens back to the old B-29 Queen of the Skies. You're going to need to keep track of your damage to your plane and your crew, and then you're trying to bomb places over, in this case, Japan as opposed to Germany. Here's your payload. So you're going to have to keep track of ammunition or payload and fuel, because as you do your bombing mission, as well as your crew and your plane as far as damage. Here's combat results. And then you've got, so this is all the basic, the game sheet, explaining what's on the game sheet. And then you've got getting started here. You've got your sequence of play, which is move, fuel roll, radar check, anti-aircraft attack, drop bombs, aerial combat, and you've got that sequence of play. Movement step. And this is basically how you move. I was kind of thrown off by the I for a 1, but so to move, when you're moving across the map, moving in any of these 3 spaces costs you 1 fuel. This costs you 2 fuel, and this costs you 3 fuel, and this one costs you 4 fuel. So if you're going to go back a step. So that's how you move on the board. And so, as I said, if you have a dry erase, you might want to, mark it off on the board that way, or, maybe use a counter or something. Here's your flight path. This talks about moving. This talks about fuel. You've got your radar check. You've got your anti-aircraft check. And the print is very large. I mean, it's all colored, and it's got a colored background, or this kind of brown, burnt brown type background. But it's very distinct and has icons and everything. So it doesn't look like it's that hard to learn or to read, I should say. But there is quite a bit in the book on how to play. But maybe it might just be a matter of going into detail on it. And here's your bombing sequence. Here's aerial combat. And all the different charts you got to look at. And all these charts are on the board. So we'll take a look at that here in a second. Or your player sheet, I should say. Here's taking hits. See, this is where you keep track of it on your kind of your flight, on your plane register. Here's crew casualties. So consistent with Patterson's other, his micro RPG, this has a little bit of an RPG feel, just like the old narrative-driven B-17. You're going to start creating stories about your crew and their missions and the like, and so this kind of lends itself to some of that. Explosions, bailout, emergency landings, and game over. Game ends when you fly off the edge of the map, your B-29 explodes, you bail out, or you make a crash landing. Well, that's a nice way to end the game. Here's scoring. So you get all kinds of different points for different things that you've accomplished. And then you get your awards here based on the number of points. And then here is a reference sheet. So at the very least, you probably are going to want to either leave this page open or make a copy of this page so that you can have that off to the side when you're playing the game. Again, I would probably never write in this book, but I'd probably make a copy. So I'd probably make a copy of these two. And one, as I said, I'm leaning towards possibly laminating, because having this laminated just to have it as a nice reference off to the side, and having this laminated so I can mark and rinse and repeat on it. But this is all your sequence. This is all basically a summary of the rules on one page pretty much. And between this and all the charts you have on your page yourself, you've got just about everything you need. I mean, here's your bombing run, here's your crew, here's your bomber status, here's tracking stuff for you on your plane, here's combat results table, visibility table. And so you've got all your stuff kind of right there to play the game. And then with this as your overlay, I think you can play the game with just these 2 pages. And then referring to the rules every once in a while. And as I said, the rules look like they go into quite a bit of detail of how to play. And then the rest of these are just sheets. They're just extra sheets. Again, all full color. Of how to play the game. So I will say, I mean, I've seen of evolution of Patterson's games from that earlier tank game, which was relatively basic. I mean, it had a grid like this where you're rolling and then moving the tank around trying to take out enemies that pop up. But it was black and white, and then the roll for Omaha was more of a true roll and write, where you're just doing lanes on the beach and rolling. There was combat results tables and stuff like that, but it was still felt like kind of a track type based game. This one it feels like but that was in color. So this one feels like it's taken some aspects of the earlier game where you have a game map that you're playing on, but you also have all your tables in color on the sheet itself. So I see a little bit of an evolution of at least on his war games or her war games, how it's been developed over time. Anyway, it's interesting to see that. Anxious to kind of get this out and see how this plays. As I said, the one downside, I guess, of this is there's a lot going on here. I mean, this for a war game book that you kind of expect somewhat simple to get to, there's a lot of charts and stuff. Again, I don't think it's overly complex, but it's just going to be wrapping my head around what do all these things mean and what do I need to keep track of. And I don't think there's an example of play in here that might have been a little bit helpful to figure out how to use these charts. Examples of play in war game books are a little tough to do because you mainly do it in narrative, or otherwise you've got to put a lot of images, and that just takes up a lot more space. But anyway, there you have it. Those are just some of my initial thoughts on this B-29 Bombs Over Japan, the latest from Noah Patterson. And I think she might have some other stuff in the hopper as well. I thought I was reading that somewhere. But anyway, love to know your thoughts on this. I doubt you've played it yet because I mean I just got it, and I mean I found it off Amazon, but it's not even listed on BGG, so I don't know if there's a lot of noise or notice out there. So, but if you have played it, love to know your thoughts on it. And if you're, after seeing this, love to know your thoughts, like as you're looking at for the first time along with me, what do you think? Is this something that interests you, or is it too roll and write and gamey and not enough of a sim value? Or does this fit into that nice niche of filler games, pull it out, do a mission or two and see how, just to kill some time and develop a narrative? Because this is what this book, I think, if you have the theater of the mind working for you, then these games, I think, are more enjoyable. That's just my opinion. Anyway, that is what I have for you today with Coffee with Kilroy. Not as many this week as last week. I had, I think, or during D-Day week at least, I had 7 maybe, 6 or 7. That's a lot of coffee. This week, not so much. I'm trying to cut back. So anyway, thank you so much for stopping by. The best way I know you stop by is drop me a comment. Let me know what you're thinking about this or any other of the Patterson books or anything that's on your mind. Just keep it civil. Thanks for stopping by. Take care. Thanks for watching.